Hi, my name's Mark Sweeney, and I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking to you about lockdown life in my part of the world and what I'm learning from it. I spent most of my career in retail, starting on the shop floor and finishing up as commercial director. And since I left in 2010, I've been pursuing what they call these days a portfolio career, really a mix of bits and bobs, some training, some coaching, some consulting. And 3 years ago we decided that we could do our jobs just as easily from here as we could from Bedfordshire, and so we moved. As I'm sure you can imagine, that portfolio is looking pretty empty at the moment, so I've been getting busy with the local volunteer effort to help out with the elderly and the vulnerable in our community. There's about 1,500 people in our village, and at the start we had 90 volunteers, people who put their hands up and said, "Don't know what I can do, but let me help." So the first thing that we did was we created a leaflet that we stuffed through everybody's door in the village, all 994 of them, I can now tell you. And on that leaflet was a list of about 15 names and phone numbers, people you could talk to just for a chat if that's what you needed, or to arrange something, to go and get a prescription because you couldn't do that anymore, or to pick you up some food because the person that used to do your shopping couldn't visit you now. Over a period of time, we started to get a bit more organised around that, and we now have a rota, and you can have your food and indeed your beer and your wine, and there's quite a lot of that, delivered from either of the local shops, same day, if that's what you want and need. And after a couple of weeks, we started also to think about, could we deliver meals for people? We were conscious that lots of people would actually quite like to have a decent meal that they weren't cooking. And also there were probably some people in the village that weren't cooking for themselves. We used to other people coming in and cooking for them, or couldn't cook for themselves. And one of the pubs had a couple of chefs they'd taken on just after the 28th of Feb, who therefore couldn't be furloughed. So the pub said, well, look, actually, we could open for takeaways, and it would be a way of giving these chefs some work and some money that they wouldn't otherwise get, and of everybody doing a bit from the community. So we identified around about 45 people now that are getting free hot meals, and separately to that, anybody can order from the main menu, come and pick up their food, or if they're self-isolating, we'll deliver that for them. For the people getting the free hot meals, we deliver them a menu on a Thursday or a Friday. We take their orders on Saturday or Sunday over the phone. Somebody rings them, says, what would you like? We offer food lunchtime and evening, Monday to Friday. There's about 8 choices on the menu, and then we turn all those orders into a sheet for each service that goes to the pub to tell them what to cook, and goes to the volunteers, some of them driving, some of them walking, who are going to get the food around the village. I've done a few of those shifts myself, and it's lovely actually. It's become the highlight of my week to do my Monday lunchtime shift. And it's not about the food. The gratitude that you get on the doorstep is more about those people feeling like somebody gave a stuff about them, that somebody phoned them up and said, what would you like to eat next week? That somebody's then cooked the food personally for them and delivered it. And it might be the highlight of their day, actually, that somebody like me turns up on the doorstep, gives them a knock, steps back the 2 metres, waits for them to answer the door and pick the food up, and says, how are you? And enjoy your meal. So what we're delivering actually isn't hot food at all. It's love, and it's human connection. The second thing I learned is about the volunteers themselves. I'm coordinating 2 or 3 volunteer networks in the village on WhatsApp groups. And if I put a message on any of those WhatsApp groups, I guarantee within a minute, there'll be 3 people putting their hands up saying, give me that. It's like a buzzer race every time I do it. And I think that's because what we're offering people is a bit of meaning, a bit of purpose, a bit of self-esteem, self-worth almost in these strange times. It's almost as valuable, this service, to the volunteers as it is to the people that we're serving. And just to illustrate that, let's go back to the pub with the 2 chefs that were furloughed. A couple of weeks after we'd started, the government legislation changed, and you can now furlough people that you'd hired after the 28th of February. So at that point, the chefs could rightly have said, you know what, I'm going to take my knives home, sit there, take the money. They didn't. They said, no, we've started this now. We started this for the village. We started this for the community. We're going to see it through. So there's my two lessons. We're not delivering hot food, we're delivering love and human connection. And we're doing something that's almost as valuable to the people who are doing it as the people who are benefiting at the other end of it. Stay safe, stay sane.